What do you think we should play today? You know what, you're right. I've played it before, but it's high time we do a video on it. Let's do this. Alright. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Demos Gaming. So, somebody mentioned on the channel recently for me to check out Embers of Armageddon, which I have played before. I believe the Unseen Walrus might have mentioned. They make a lot of suggestions. Thank you for this one. Now, if you're not familiar with it, what it does is it aims to recreate gameplay elements and weapons from Doom 2016 and throw them into the original Doom. So it's like a kind of a demake of sorts. But they specifically mentioned to try out an add-on for Embers of Armageddon called EOA Eternal, which, as the name implies, takes a lot of the elements from Doom Eternal and tries to put that into Doom 2. They're both a ton of fun. They have their distinct differences, though, of course, and I'm going to go over both of them today. So as always with these review-style videos, my main goal is just to kind of see, like, alright, are these fun? Do these work well with the original monsters, or the original maps of Doom and Doom 2? And, you know, I don't really like going into too many of, like, the technical aspects and that kind of thing, because I really don't know anything about that. I just like playing the games. So anyway, let's get into it. So first things first, we're going to check out the regular Embers of Armageddon, but before we go any further, you're going to want to bind your keys. So go into the EOA settings and get your keys bound. There's obviously a lot of extra things that are in this, and you know you're going to want to bind those before you get into the game, otherwise it's just not going to be very effective and you're going to be missing out on a lot of fun stuff. So as far as the gameplay is concerned, what are the main things that get added in? Well, where do I start? You've got a double jump. You've got grenades, which I didn't really find that I was using a ton because it kind of bounced around too much, but I mean, they worked just fine. You've got upgrades that you can get through doing the challenges, so every single time you get to a new level, you're going to want to go into where you do your regular upgrades and check the challenges. And if you can complete those, then you'll get upgrade points to put toward your weapons. One of the first things I did was I upgraded the super shotgun, gave it kind of like a uranium plating or something like that, and it went through enemies. So if you had like a pile of enemies or like you had them lined up, it was great to just like turn them into hamburger.
And of course, what would a Doom 2016 mod be without glory kills? Need I say more?
So of course you can also find the upgrade bots from Doom 2016 littered around the levels, sometimes in secrets and that kind of thing, and upgrade your weapons that way. Of course with those, during my playthrough I ended up upgrading the shotgun to give it the explosive shot, which all your upgrades you can access by holding the right mousey mouse button and then pressing the left mousey mouse button and blowing shit up, or you know, whatever you happen to get as an upgrade. And then of course the other one I did was whatever's on number 4, I think it's like the assault rifle or something like that, and just turned it into like a little mini missile launcher. It's pretty freaking great. You can also find Argent Energy, those little orbs sitting around, you know, just random places in the level, and use that to upgrade your ammo capacity and armor and health capacity as well. Of course, first thing I did was upgrade the ammo capacity because holy crap, you don't really start out with a lot of that. Doom, or the Embers of Armageddon Eternal is like way worse actually, but we'll get into that. You could also find runes throughout the levels, and I ended up getting 2 runes in my playthrough. One was kind of like a magnet thing, it brought power-ups from farther away to you, and then the other one just made it to where when the enemies are staggered and they're ready to be glory killed, that was longer. That would be like a longer amount of time that they were staggered, so you had more time to walk up to them and tear them in half or whatever. And finally, one of the coolest things is the Praetor suits. Sometimes they're a little hard to find if you're in a room where you've already killed a lot of enemies, but you will see just like a dude in a red suit on the floor, and then you can pull out those tokens and you can use them to put toward various upgrades for your suit. I didn't really get too much into that. I mean, I used my tokens, but there are a ton of upgrades. Now, of course, the weapons. The weapons are pretty great, and I actually found most of them during my playthrough. I had to go back, use the good old cheat sheet code to get all the weapons, so I could try out the Gatling gun and the Gauss cannon, which I did not find right away. And they were a lot of fun to play with as well. Just kind of like liquefied enemies, if that's what you're into. The one thing I will mention is ammo capacity, like I said, is pretty small when you start out, so you're definitely going to want to use glory kills as much as possible. You will be able to upgrade your ammo as time goes on, and then of course there is the chainsaw. You can use that to get a ton of ammo back. The only issue I kind of ran into with that is the chainsaw fuel is not super abundant, so just kind of be careful, don't use it too much, because you might find yourself in a situation where you're running out of ammunition and you really need it and you can't use the chainsaw. And then, of course, there are various power-ups. There is a haste power-up, which just kind of lets you go real fast. There is, of course, the quad damage, which just allows you to do a shitload of damage. And then there is the berserk, which it's pretty great. All I can hear is BFG Division playing every single time I pick it up. And then just like the key bindings, there are all kinds of different settings for different play styles. I didn't really get into those. I left everything just kind of standard, didn't touch that at all. But there is some pretty cool stuff in there, so definitely check all that out. Now, finally, the main question would be, regardless of all the gameplay and weapons and all that kind of stuff, how does it play with the original weapons and monsters of Doom 2? Well, short answer is it actually plays quite well. I found myself having a really, really good time with this. I ended up playing good like 6 levels of Back to Saturn X for a couple hours, and it was a lot of fun. The big difference between this one and Death Foretold, which is also a Doom 2016 demake that I've played on this channel, is that with this one, I know that you get a lot of the, like all the upgrades, like all that kind of stuff. You get more of that kind of thing, but you don't have the monsters. So in Death Foretold, they tried to like recreate all the monsters from Doom 2016. So really, that's kind of the main difference between those two. I guess my main thoughts to take away from this is this really does a good job of recreating the feel of Doom 2016. You know, I found myself in certain occasions just hopping around the level, shooting, throwing grenades, doing glory kills, and it just made you feel like a complete badass. It was pretty awesome. So now, on to EOA Eternal. So how is EOA Eternal in comparison? I will basically sum it up for you in the following clip. So yeah, I died a lot while playing this. And found it to be kind of frustrating at times. But honestly, I generally tend to think that that's just user error on my part. I'm freaking terrible at this game. I love playing it, but I'm not really good at it. And Doom Eternal was very different. I mean, let's face it, from Doom 2016. It's not about just like getting a bunch of weapons and just, you know, kill it till it's dead anymore. It's like, oh, let's give the player like all of this extra stuff, all these different things that you can do, and see how they approach every situation. Every single enemy has a real specific strategy to them, and that's kind of how you have to approach this, and I'm just not used to playing that way in a lot of these Doom mods. So this was a very, very different playstyle, I guess. So basically, same thing with Embers of Armageddon. You have the same kinds of upgrades, the double jumps, the grenades, so...
Get on with it! Yes! Get on with it!
I know. Calm down. So you've got the different kinds of grenades. You have the explosive kind, and then of course there's a button you have to bind to switch between that. And then the ice grenade that'll freeze enemies, and once you break them, you'll get health back. You got the little flamey flame boy, which is great for getting armor back. I found myself using that quite a bit because a lot of enemies, man, they can just annihilate your armor in this. So yeah, you're gonna need to use that quite a bit. And then of course there's a cooldown on all that stuff. There's the crucible, which you can just kind of use outright, or you can actually use it in glory kills. So which is kind of great. And actually, glory kills in this is really, really fun. I found myself in several occasions just like going around and just like glory, just, you know, pow, 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 glory kill, pow, pow, glory kill. And in certain instances, it works really, really well. There's just some occasions where some of the higher tier enemies can make it a huge challenge to be able to do that effectively, I guess. And then, of course, you have the meat hook, which I found to be completely fucking useless in this, because all that it ever did... I just spit everywhere. What the hell? All it ever did was it pulled you directly toward an enemy for them to hit you in the face or shoot you in the face or something like that, and I really didn't like that at all. Fuck. I did notice somebody made an add-on. I have no idea how it works because I didn't play around with it. That gives you grapple points. So you do have the ability to, like, I guess, hit things and grapple around, which would be kind of cool. I could see that being a really interesting thing. I don't really know how that works, so definitely check out that add-on. It's in the Discord under pinned messages. There's a ton of different add-ons in there, so check that out. Then, of course, the weapons. Now the big difference between these weapons and the weapons from regular Embers of Armageddon are, one of the big ones is the chainsaw. Chainsaw is now just bound to a quick key, which I actually prefer because it is kind of nice if you find like, oh crap, I'm out of ammunition on a lot of my weapons. You can just run up to something and without having to pull out the chainsaw as a weapon itself, just hit a quick key and I get a bunch of ammo back, which is really, really good. And then it has all the other weapons. Same thing as Embers of Armageddon. I found a lot of them during my playthrough, but I had to go back so I could try out the Gatling gun and the Unmaker in this case. And holy crap, those definitely turn enemies into liquid.
Damn, boy, he's dead!
But the biggest difference between these is the frickin' ammo capacity, dude, which was a constant problem. So basically, I think in my playthrough, I was able to find Argent Energy like 3 times, and every time I took the ammo upgrade because I was like, there's never enough ammo. Like, every time I walk into a room, I'll kill like, you know, maybe 8 monsters, and by the time I'm done, I'm out of ammunition in every weapon. And that was like a huge problem and kind of became like an underlying issue like throughout the playthrough. And I think that that's kind of a big difference between like playing this in a mod setting where you're playing those original maps from Doom 2 where you would be given a ton of ammunition, and trying to do it kind of in the way that Doom Eternal does it, where there's kind of a progression. Anyway, we'll get into all that later. So the big question is, how does this work with the original monsters and map packs of Doom 2? So with this specific map that I chose, I picked Back to Saturn X Episode 1, which, if you've been a fan of the channel for a while, you know I play that a lot, and I usually like to try that with newer mods because I know it really well. I know where all the secrets are. So with Embers of Armageddon, it worked really well, even though right away, like within the first couple levels, they pretty much throw every single enemy that you could possibly find. I never really found myself like in a situation where I was being overly challenged, right? Like I was still able to work my way through, strategize, and be able to take care of, you know, whatever challenges were thrown at me over the course of the levels. Where in Eternal, I don't know, I felt like because you were so crippled by the lack of ammo and all of that kind of stuff early on, it made those first couple levels an absolute slog, and I died so many freaking times, dude. It was ridiculous. So honestly, if I were to go back and play this again, I would have chosen like just the original Doom 2 map, or maybe like Maps of Chaos or something like that, where there is a slow progression to get you to the point where you're fighting some of those harder enemies later on, and you're not having those thrown at you on the first fucking level, because it made it really, really hard. It made it really difficult to get through it, and it was honestly more frustrating than fun, to be perfectly honest. I'm terrible at playing this, so you may not have the same experience, but just keep that in mind if you're going to play it for yourself. Now, of course, there are cheat codes that you can use if you'd like to give yourself like infinite ammo and give yourself all the weapons and that kind of thing. So if you want to cheat, then cheat, but I ain't no fucking figure, boy. I think my biggest takeaway from this that was kind of an issue that I did run into was the fact that Eternal gives you a lot of options, right? It's not just here's a weapon, kill everything. It's here's a weapon, and then also here's some grenades, and then also here's the meat hook, and then here's glory kills. It gives you so much at one time that I just kind of found like I was button mashing. Like really, in most combat situations, I was just freaking button mashing. So that was about my only issue with it, is you're given a lot right away, a lot to think about, a lot to deal with. Definitely, I would go back and, like I said, use a map pack with a progression, and not Back to Saturn X Episode 1, because that was fucking frustrating. All in all, though, both of these mods were a ton of fun to play with, I can honestly say, and they were made really, really well. So with Doom Eternal, it's not that it's bad, it's just that there's a specific way I think that's makes it a little easier to play and a little easier to digest when you've never played it before. And of course, if you want to try it out for yourself, links for both of these will be in the description. You can try them out. Definitely join the Discord so you can get in there and try out all those different add-ons. They're in the pinned messages, like I said. So huge thanks to all the subscribers out there. I really appreciate it. I'm working on getting myself to 1,000 subs. Once I get there, I can quit. You know, don't need to go past that point, right? But no, thank you all so much for subscribing, watching these videos, liking the videos, all that kind of stuff. I really appreciate all the support on it, and I really enjoy making these kinds of videos. So, if you enjoyed this one, please give it a like. And if you enjoyed this kind of content, then absolutely explode that subscribe button. I really appreciate it. Just do it. What are you waiting for? So anyway, see you on the next episode. But in the meantime, if you find yourself in a situation where you want to try a mod that tries to recreate Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal, try them both. Like I said, they're a lot of fun. I know I bitched a lot about EOA Eternal, but it is fun and it is totally playable. Try it out. I'm sure you'll do a better job than me because I'm terrible at playing this game, but I love it. I love me some Doom. What am I talking about? I don't know. See you on the next episode. Peace. More ammo. Just give me more fucking ammo. There's not enough ammo.